This is Hamaari Yaadein, which means our memories. This film looks at the experiences of South Asian women who moved to England in the 1960s, their experiences of integrating into a new country with hope of a new life and raising families. South Asian women continue to relocate to England in the 70s, 80s and continue to do so today. In this film, they discuss some of the barriers they faced, the challenges they overcame, and the triumphs they have celebrated. So sit back and listen to stories of women arriving in the 60s, combined with second-generation women who had their own challenges growing up in England at the close of the 20th century.
I come from Kenya. I come from Kenya. We are 6 sisters, 1 brother. And I'm married here. My husband is from Pakistan. He was here. I'm married here. And when I'm married here, come here, it was so cold. And I was so shy. It's like my marriage was like arranged marriage. I could not tell him I'm cold. I just sit down and I say, you want a tea? Yes, I want tea. First, when you wake up in morning, first you fire. Very difficult to burn fire. Very difficult. 2-3 hours you make it for fighting with fire.
One day I tried to, because I didn't know, and it was just a small piece of carpet in front of, the fire. I tried to lit the fire. I burned the carpet. So I still remember that. I came 13 years old and then I had the first baby like 14 and a half and
Really, you cried.
it was really all the family we left in Pakistan and there wasn't any Asian, there was only one shop Asian, you can get halal meat and stuff.
Yeah.
And there wasn't many people at all, Sorry, my sister-in-law was having baby and then the next door there was English couple and we didn't know, and I didn't know any English and then I went to their house. And my husband just say MLS and then I start saying MLS baby.
India ਚ ਇਦਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਤਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਠੀਕ ਬਾਤ ਉਹਦਾ 29 ਮੇਰੀ 4 ਸਾਲ ਘੱਟ ਲਿਖੀ ਹੋਆ ਉਮਰ ਵੀ ਇੱਧਰ ਨੂੰ ਸਾਡੀ ਕੁੜੀ ਲੰਘ ਜਾਵੇ ਇੱਧਰ ਆਣ ਕੇ ਕੀ ਖੂਹਾਂ ਚ ਕੁੜੀਆਂ ਪਾ ਦਿੱਤੀਆਂ ਸਹੀ ਆ ਨਾ.
But it was very much oriented around the season, whatever season was at the time. Was it the harvest season, the preparing the crops, whatever it was. It was round about that date, and that's where we'll sort of put you.
So keep thinking, I left all the family there, I'm alone here. Keep thinking all the time, I'm alone. I was alone.
Luckily, I did my GCSE here. I did in Pakistan. So when I came here, I have no problem with the English or.
You could speak English a bit.
To be honest, not speak English, but I can write. I can understand. Slowly.
Yeah.
I haven't. I can say, but I don't need any because when I was pregnant first time, I took my sister-in-law with me, and when I went inside, she asked me question, and I gave every question right. So she asked me the spelling of my name, address, and then the nurse told my sister, "You can go outside. She can manage." Yeah, the first time when I came here, I was pregnant as well.
ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜਦ ਇੱਥੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਿਹੜਾ ਕੰਮ ਕੀਤਾ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ?
ਮੈਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਕੁਝ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੀਤਾ ਵਿਆਹ ਲਈ ਆਈ ਸੀਗੀ ਜਦ ਮੈਂ 에어ਪੋਰਟ ਤੇ ਉਤਰੀ ਮੈਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਹਨੇਰਾ ਹੀ ਬੜਾ ਆ ਮੈਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਨਾਈਸ ਜਿਹਾ ਮੈਂ ਤਾਂ ਰੋਂਦੀ ਰਹੀ.
He was my sister-in-law's brother-in-law, and he was really educated man, and he always fill the form and say, I always sit with him and see what he's doing. One day he said, why don't you watch news? That these news, you will learn more with the news. So I never missed 10 o'clock news on ITV. I still remember. So from that, I improved my English.
In those days, you see, everything available. But 300 pound, you buy house. 300 pound you buy a house. I think so we buy a shop in 500. And every week we go to for people houses, little book. People give me book, say I want you, like tea bag, everything list. Then we make boxes and supply. He Bradford to Halifax.
15 minutes of
Okay. And do you remember any stories of sort of coming over and any particular memories of what it was like when you sort of landed?
Yeah, first thing I asked, who's my dad? Because I didn't see my dad in India. I was just a toddler when he came over.
Okay.
So first thing I can remember when I came on the airport, I asked my mom, which is my dad?
Okay. Fantastic. Are there ever times when you sit down with your children and say, "Oh, this is my wedding sari"?
Yeah.
And how is that? What's that like? How do your children feel when they see your wedding sari?
Still so nice.
I can't remember where mine is, never mind 50 years ago.
When I was so skinny, the blouse covered in my arm.
Pass it to Duffy.
While people share similar experiences, no two stories are the same. Rihanna studied in Pakistan and got married before moving to England.
So I was getting bored at home all the time. So my first experience was, there was a mother and toddler group next door to my house in a church. I was just walking through one day and I went in, and mostly there were English people around there. They said hello to me, they welcomed me and gave me a lot of confidence. So started going twice a week with my son over there, and that really taught me the lifestyle in England, what sort of people, how they do things. I was a bit hesitant to go out and see other people, and because the atmosphere was different, gradually I started gaining confidence here and understanding the people.
This is Zainab. She was born in Newcastle but relocated to Bradford when she was young.
My real father's from Afghanistan. My mum's English, born in Barnsley. But I don't know my real father. I grew up with my stepfather, who was from Bradford, who was English. It was difficult not knowing the other side of my life, my father. And growing up with my stepfather was really difficult because of all of his family being white British, and me being the only Asian looking child in the house, because my stepbrother was blonde hair, blue eyes, and my sister. I was the odd one out. I didn't really feel anything until I got a little bit older, but my stepfather's brothers and my grandma and his mum and dad, you always felt something wasn't the same. You never felt like you fitted in. You always were referred to as the coloured person. School was difficult. It was hard to fit in because I couldn't attend every day because of family problems. When I did attend, I found that the teachers expected me to know a lot of things, even though I went in school. I was always pointed out, she's doing this or she's doing that. Always teacher, get to the back of the room. Girls in school used to call me names and stuff, make fun of how I looked and stuff like that. So it was difficult. It was very difficult. And I think that's part of why I didn't enjoy school. I didn't want to go to school because there was nothing to look forward to.
The challenges those women faced are different to those faced by second-generation women who were born in this country to parents who were born and raised in South Asian countries. Here, a group of individuals from different parts of the city got together to share their own experiences of being brought up in Bradford.
For me, what is significant is that having older brothers and sisters to support the family was really helpful. And for somebody like me that was born in Bradford and sees herself as a British Asian woman. The interesting thing for me is that was helpful for me in terms of the fact that my older siblings, if you like, sort of set out life for me in a way, in that they embraced British society, and as Nina explained earlier, very liberated in terms of the Singaporean sort of modern Muslim family.
My dad used to be really protective, and he was very strict that, you know, I think, especially with the girls, that even when we went to school, you could see it in his face that, oh God, my girls are going to school, and, you know, God knows what happens at school and all of this. So, when I was 16 and I'd done my GCSEs, and I remember, and I wanted to be a doctor, and I always said, I'm going to be a doctor, I'm going to be a doctor, but there was just no lack of support in our family. My parents, my dad in particular, didn't want us to study. He didn't want us to. We were supposed to finish school at 16, go back home, get married, and just do what my mother did at home.
My brother just got married a couple of weeks ago, and he's married a Pakistani girl, but she's not from the same tribe or anything. And then I had someone propose to me. She's from here, they met at uni, and it was a bit of a love marriage and stuff. Families were introduced and they got married. It was accepted. There was nothing wrong with that. There was no questions asked. There was no delays or no anything. And then someone proposed through a family to me, and my dad said, "Well, are we having our whole family, you know, becoming Punjabis? You know, like I'm not going to accept that."
My grandfather passed away, and then we all went to Pakistan. And before I went, and the girls said, "Well, you're not going to come back single, are you?" And I was like, "Well, I will. And she went, "No, you're not. No, you're not." And lo and behold, I did. I got married at 17. And although I was young, I always believe that things happen for a reason. And, you know, although I didn't do what my cousins did, I went to uni and got A-levels, I got married and I came back and I got a visa and everything. And I think it worked better for me because, you know, there was such a lack of direction. I wanted to be a doctor, but my GCSE results weren't that good. So it wasn't something that I could pursue, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. And then I got a job at the bank, and it became a stable job. You know, it paid the bills, it paid the mortgage, and I stayed there. And then in 2009, I left the bank and I raised my family. And then it really became, all right, okay, I've got this time now, I've got this opportunity. What do I want to do? What do I want to do? Where do I want to go? It's my time now. And then I went back to college, and I got a degree, and my family was so supportive. They were so more supportive now than they would have been when I was 17 and 18. And you know, it makes such a big difference when your parents are supportive. You just feel that you can achieve what you want to achieve when you've got them on your side.
For a long time, because we go with the caste system, and you know, you get married into whatever caste it is. And only recently I've actually let go of that myself, because obviously looking at remarrying, I was kind of, the guy has to be from my caste, otherwise I'm not having it. So that was my prime focus. And my mum was saying, get married, I don't care who it is, no, he has to be. So this is the mother telling the daughter, and the daughter saying, and my dad was the same, and it was actually absolutely ridiculous. And I was like, why am I doing this? And it was only because of the, you know, keeping the standards up, and being that right person, doing the right thing, and saying, look, you know, to continue basically. So I've only recently kind of changed my mindset about it, thinking like what I'm doing is wrong, because obviously instead of broadening my options, I'm actually broadening them in. Again, I do. It's the traditional side of it. There's quite a lot of things that I'm quite, you know, I am quite traditional about. I don't know why it is. It's just the way it is. I mean, there's certain things you do, there's certain things you do not do.
I got an interview. I got a job. That was still I'm learning college, and the ward manager, he died. I can talk about him now. He died, and he said, "Oh, you are not allowed to wear your clothes. I said, what can I wear? Because I was going to wear the uniform, hat, everything. He said, no. I said, I haven't got a skirt and blouse. And you had to wear the, those days it was uniforms. I was, what can I do? And then he said, nobody's looking at you, Latifa. He said, Terry Brennan. He said, nobody looking at you. You'll be all right. He encouraged me. And yes, I got a skirt and blouse. And then slowly, I got a from charity shop. I got a one. No, next door took me to that. And it's a good bargain. She got me a gratitude. And I got, then I start wearing uniform. I look different, completely different. With hat on and people there and people there. And from uniform, then Tanny Brad, they helped me a lot.
At that time, there was a job advertised somewhere for community development. So because I wasn't looking for the job, the play leader in the mother and toddler asked me, why don't you apply for the job? It was just 15 hours. I said, I've got young kids and I don't have any experience. I was a qualified teacher in Pakistan. I did 2 degrees in Pakistan. So she said to me, you bring the children, you help us. We set up the play group and then we do things together. That is your experience. When my children were full-time in school, they were grown up, I went to a middle school as a liaison teacher. And that was another good experience where I think 50% Pakistani children and 50% mixed children over there. And then all the English staff. And they respected me so much. And I worked so hard with them, solve the problems, the language problems with the parents. We used to have meetings and I used to do a lot of work with the parents, between the staff and parents, between the children and the staff.
The first generation women tend to have 3 key skills a woman should have. And those key skills are to cook, to sew and to drive. If you've got 3 of those, you're halfway there. When I was married at 19 and I moved to Rotherham. And my in-laws, it wasn't a done thing for a woman to go out and work. This was the later 80s, early 90s. So yes, it was a barrier. I wanted to go out and I wanted to work. They would not allow it. No, nobody else's daughter-in-law works, so you do not do it. So the skill that I did have was sewing, and I utilised that skill. And I actually used to stitch clothes at home for people, and I made money through those means. And that is what I did, because I was bored and I just did not know what to do.
During the space of time that I've been working, and as an athlete, particularly in the area of sport, it is very underrepresented by Asian women. There are only around 5 women in Yorkshire that are actually involved at a senior level in sport. I feel very privileged to have this position, and I ensure that our voice is always heard at the table. One of my key roles has been to support Sport England and develop some of the equality and diversity issues that face black and ethnic minorities in sport, and also, of course, to look at single gender provision and disability provision. So I have made a commitment in many ways in terms of being involved in sport myself, and I'm still a volunteer in my spare time.
South Asian women have come a long way from once being confined to being homemakers and housewives. Farnaz decided to break the mould by launching her own business.
I was born in Bradford Royal Infirmary, but I grew up in Lancashire. Please don't call me a traitor. I never finished school because I had a very loving father who wanted to take care of me. And he believed, I grew up in a very different time. He believed that girls didn't need to work. I was the responsibility of his, and he was responsible for me until I got married. And when I got married, I'd be the responsibility of my husband. So in his eyes, I never needed to work. That was, a man's problem, and that's it. He didn't do it out of, trying to restrict me, but he did it out of love. And I fully understand the reasons why he would want that. He wanted the best for his, child, but in a different way. So the only option that I had was to do something for myself. I had no choice, had no qualifications, had limited work experience. I was probably the worst candidate ever because I was a woman. I had 2 children, I was of childbearing age, all the odds were against me, so I had to literally go out and do something for myself. Okay, Fit Britches is a brand that I've just brought to market in January. The whole concept of it's a high technology clothing range which is designed to help women drop dress sizes and lose weight.
So, as South Asian women have settled and created a life for themselves in England, what does the future hold for women arriving in the country? Women living here and women still to arrive.
Now, the young girls come from Pakistan or any other country. They have, because this media is so strong, it's all over the world. They know everything now. Not everything, but they have
They know what
awareness of
like.
the things, what's gonna be there, and this because the media that time, our time, no media.
I'm a school governor for an upper school. I'm a chair of governors for primary school. I'm involved in all sorts. I've been an active citizen. I've been to Kenya, part of the council work. Done a lot of things, a lot of voluntary work. I've worked at a youth project, Prism Youth Project. Loved it. I'm just busy, involved in all sorts of things and love it.
I think a barrier for me was probably lack of sense of direction. But then again, I think I turned that positive. When no one directs you, you find your own direction. And when you find your own direction, you find your own individuality, and you can fit into any sort of circumstances. And again, I'm turning 25 this year, but I hold 3 degrees. I think again, probably a bit like yourself, I sort of threw myself into education, and that was my focus because there was nothing else in terms of how I was brought up and your family upbringing and stuff.
I think the future for my girls, hopefully, it's going to be a lot more easier. If they actually want to go down the academic path, I will support them. If they want to go down the business path, they're going to have their mum to support them. I want the best for my girls. I want my girls to excel. I fully believe my girls are going to make something out of themselves. My daughter's already showing some very, very strong academic attributes at school. The feedback that she gets from her head teachers, from her school teachers, has been very, very positive indeed. But I've always felt that my girls will actually get somewhere. And we've got some very, very strong and high hopes for them, definitely.
ਸਾਰੇ ਤਾਂ ਗਹਿਣੇ ਮੇਰੇ ਮਾਂ ਪਿਆਂ ਨੇ ਪਾਏ ਸਾਰੇ ਤਾਂ ਗਹਿਣੇ